You know, folks, I try to steer clear of whataboutisms, but there's one that's just hanging right in front of our face. It's low hanging fruit, and I have to talk about it. Just imagine for a moment if Kamala Harris had have got elected, got into office, and said, I'm going to release the Epstein files. And then let's say that she didn't. Let's say that time went by and she didn't. And then let's say that her biggest campaign donor came forward and said the reason why that she won't release those files is because she's in there, because Bill Clinton's in there. And then imagine if she sent the National Guard to, let's say, Texas. And then let's say she bombed Iran. And then let's say that her Department of Justice, her Attorney General said, oh, I have the list on my desk. You're going to see it next week. And then let's say that she came out and said, actually, no, there's not a list. It was all just one big hoax. And you all are weak and pathetic for ever believing in it. Where do you think MAGA would stand on that? I believe they would have took to the streets. I believe it would have been January 6th on steroids. And when you look at Donald Trump and all of the unraveling that's happened, all you have to do is just kind of, you really do, if you just replace, well, now, what if that was Kamala Harris? What if that was Joe Biden? What if that was Barack Obama? What if Barack Obama had a wife who came here and that has a very shady past? And what if, as we begin to uncover things about her past, how would MAGA react to that? Well, we know they wouldn't even buy that Obama was born in this country. We know that pretty much Donald Trump started the whole thing off of, the whole birth certificate conspiracy. And so, as we dig back into Trump's past, his children's past, his wife's past, you dig back into it, the more you dig, the more guilty everybody looks. And the other day I was talking to a good friend of mine, shout out to Mr. Global, and I said, it feels like we're watching a mob movie sometimes. And he said, that's because we are. And I was like, yeah, we are. We're watching The Sopranos just play out in real life right in front of us. And if anybody thinks that these people for 1 minute have their best interest at heart, I mean, I've got an ocean over here in Tennessee I'll be glad to sell you. But I'm going to go to this video that Ben Meiselas put out on the Meidas Touch Network talking about Melania's past and how that it absolutely does expose Trump and exposes the whole family for the grifters that they are. And as always, they're going to find a way to grift to the bitter end. Even if they ever ended up in prison, they're the people that would be selling toenail clippings from their prison cell. That's who these people are. But anyway, I'm going to go here to this video. But before I do, I just want to stop and thank everybody so much for your support here on the channel. We're closing in on 800,000 subscribers. I was going to pull it up and see how many we've got at the moment. While I'm sitting here, we have got 783,000. So we're closing in on 8, and we're headed toward 1 million, and I truly do appreciate your support. Let's watch a little bit of this video from Ben, and I highly recommend you go watch the entire thing. But here it is. It is Melania's past. Melania's real past with Trump is back to haunt the family. Let's take a look at this, and we'll see exactly what kind of grifters they really are.
Wow. Melania is trying to cash in on Donald Trump's cover-up of his dark past, his sickening connections with Jeffrey Epstein, and his efforts to try to cover up the Epstein list and the Epstein files. What do I mean by she's trying to cash in? So yesterday she posted an advertisement for her book, Melania, that came out a little while ago, and she posted the chapter, How I Met Donald Trump. And it's actually very disturbing when you read it because there are a lot of massive question marks in Melania's past. And well, Melania, since you want to volunteer this to grift off of Donald Trump's cover up of his Epstein connections and the Epstein list, let's delve into it. Like, I think we should delve into, Melania, how you advertised falsely that you went to certain colleges that you never went to. I think you have a very suspicious background from Slovenia, and I think we should explore that. Look, even when you read what Melania posts from her autobiography called Melania, How I Met Donald, it's deeply disturbing. I mean, she talks about how in 1998, she went to this club in Manhattan called the KitKat Club. You've seen and heard me report on the KitKat Club before, right? That is where the wealthy Manhattan men met young Eastern European women. There was a specific individual named Paolo Zampoli who ran a modeling agency for young Eastern European women. He'd bring them to the KitKat Club and they would throw these parties. And Donald Trump was one of the wealthy Manhattan businessmen who showed up, and that's where he met Melania. He was with another young girl or woman when he went to the KitKat Club that night and met Melania, and she tells that story in this specific chapter. So let's just go through her background. Let's go through the chapter. You're going to be shocked by some of the stuff I'm going to tell you, right? Because this was right around the time, too, when Donald Trump was like best friends with Epstein, when he was palling around with Epstein, when Ghislaine Maxwell was working with Donald Trump to bring him young women. And this was talked about in the London Sunday Mirror, talked about how Ghislaine Maxwell in 1997, before any of the information about Epstein would get out, it would talk about how Ghislaine Maxwell would bring these young, beautiful women to Trump and these businessmen. And they referred to Ghislaine as Madame. Madame Maxwell is how they refer to her as. So
now I just want to stop it just for a second there, because I want you, again, not trying to do the whataboutisms. That's I know that sometimes can be the easiest road to take, but everything you just heard him say about Melania up to that point, imagine if that was Michelle Obama. I mean, if you think about it, they literally started conspiracy theories that Michelle Obama was a man. I mean, they've went to that extreme going after and attacking Michelle Obama. But this is one, it already, before he even gets deep in the weeds with his video, it already just smells like the biggest rat ever. And you look at it and you go, how did evangelicals get behind this? Like, how is Donald and Melania Trump the poster children for the churches? I don't understand that. And would ministers be willing, I would love to ask them this question, would they be willing to preach with a big screen of Melania and Trump's quotes hanging up behind them, and their lifestyle hanging up behind them, and the nudes hanging up behind them? I wonder if they would be willing to do that, because they're sitting there each week condemning people in their church for living this kind of lifestyle, but yet they bought this, folks, hook, line, and sinker. And so let's jump back into a few more minutes of Ben's video, and like I said, I highly recommend you go check out the entire thing. It is called Melania's Real Past is Back to Haunt the Family, but let's see how here in this clip.
Take a look at some of the photos of what Melania looked like when she was in Slovenia. Photos here, photos there. You see her right there. Now let's take a look at Melania's fake college degree. You probably forgot this story, right? CBS reported July 29, 2016, Melania Trump's website taken down after her degree claim is debunked. Melania Trump's website that had incorrectly claimed she had received a college degree has been removed, and the address now redirects visitors to the Trump Organization's website. The website's removal was first noticed on Wednesday by the Huffington Post. In a tweet Wednesday, she said that the website in question, created in 2012, had been removed because it does not accurately reflect my current business and professional interests, or maybe because it was false and fraudulent. The website had claimed that she had received a college degree before becoming a skincare entrepreneur and philanthropist. CBS News confirmed during the Republican National Convention in Cleveland last week in 2016 that her claim that she earned a degree in design and architecture at a university in Slovenia was false, not true. The convention program read, after obtaining a degree in design and architecture at the University of Slovenia, Melania was jetting between photo shoots in Paris and Milan, finally settling in New York in 1996. This was a direct quote from the website. CBS News checked the official public records of the university, and Melania Trump is not listed as having graduated there with a degree. Also, she plagiarized her entire speech from Michelle Obama's speech at the convention. So take a look at how she describes meeting Donald Trump. And again, this was the time when Trump was as close as can be with Epstein. Hi, I'm Donald Trump, Chapter 5. On a Friday night in September 1998, as I settled into the comfort of my New York City apartment after a whirlwind trip to Paris, my phone rang. It was a friend of mine. My boyfriend is throwing a party at the KitKat Club tomorrow night, she said. Please come. We haven't seen each other in so long. I just got back from Paris. I said, please, it will be fun. A lot of people will be there. We'll pick you up. While I was tired and jet lagged, I loved the idea that my weekend was about to be filled with the company of friends. I have always been selective in how I choose to spend my time and where I put my energy. A late night party at the club was not my top choice for a Saturday evening. Just pause there. you were taking a lot of nudes at this time. That's what you were doing, which you've since posted about. And you said you loved your nude modeling career. Currently, Russian state regime media is posting a lot of those nude modeling photos. And these weren't like the nude modeling photos that go into like the high art type of magazines. These were like the nude photos that go into the other type of magazines, if you know what I'm talking about. So then she goes, I didn't want to shy away from social gatherings. I accepted the invitation anyway. After all, it was Fashion Week, a time of glamour and sophistication. Like everything she says is such BS, right?
And I got to stop right there. He's right. Everything she says is absolute BS. And again, as I sit there, every time that we unravel and uncover more of their past, I just flash back to sitting there in the church as a little kid and the minister up there just screaming at me how that's not the way that you live. And I've known people in my lifetime who may have done things they may not have should have done. It's not for me to judge, but I have seen them absolutely reamed from the pulpit by a minister who found out maybe they went and danced at a certain club or maybe they posed in a certain magazine, and just absolutely lay waste to them for doing that. Just lay into them and guilt trip them all to hell, and yet they turned around and got right behind the people like Donald Trump. So that's probably one of the most discouraging things, and it's one of the people says to me sometimes, Brando, how did you become agnostic? Well, I read the Bible is first. And then I saw how people interpreted it. I saw how they used it to weaponize it against people. And I also saw the people that they were willing to get behind and embrace. I saw they were willing to sell out everything they ever believed in to get behind that kind of crap. So again, I highly recommend you go over and check out Ben's entire video on YouTube. Melania's Real Past is back to haunt the Trump, is back. Sorry, Melania's Real Past with Trump is back to haunt the family, and it forever will, because that's the type of people they are, folks. And all the people, he wasn't guilty of nothing, man. Boy, he sure does look it. And it really doesn't take a rocket scientist to see through it or figure it out. You really don't. I barely escaped to poor high school in Southeast Kentucky, okay? I barely made it out, folks. 2.5 grade point average. I passed by the skin of my teeth. But I can see through this, and most people can. And more people are. There's more people in MAGA that are starting to wake up. And when they do, I hope that they're willing to not only wake up and walk away from all of the damage that Trump has done, but I hope they're willing to walk away from his ideas as well. Because it's one thing to say, well, he duped me, I was wrong. But there's a whole lot of other things they're wrong on, so they're really going to have to do some soul searching. I truly do appreciate all of your support here on the channel. We're closing in on 1 million subscribers as we hit the 800,000 mark. That's pretty hard sometimes for me to wrap my head around, folks. It truly is. It's one of those things where I sit back in my little small town and go, how in the world is there that many people out there watching and listening? But I truly do appreciate all of your support. And so if you ever would like to take a break with me and talk about other things, over on my Patreon here lately, we've been doing things a little different. We've been talking about things that aren't political. I've been reviewing books, and I've reviewed some cigars, and we've lit up the grill, and we've talked about albums and music and boxing and wrestling and all the kind of stuff that I would just sit around and shoot the breeze with you if you was to have came out to one of my shows and plop down on a bar stool. Hey, did you watch SmackDown last night? Yeah. It's like that's pretty much kind of what we're doing over there, just to get away from this for a minute, because I tell people all the time that, number one, you do have to take care of your mental health this day and age, folks. We're living in times where this really does get heavy. To my fellow creators out there that does this line of work, take care of yourself, take a break. If you have to step away for a day or two, do it. Whatever you have to do, we want people to stay in the saddle and stay healthy. We don't need people out there, pushing themselves too far. So take that much needed break when you need to. Walk away from it, get away from it. Take care of your mental health and be there for your family and your kids and your friends, and just get away from it for a while. And over on Patreon here lately, we've just kind of been doing that because when I first started doing this, I was a musician and spent most of my life doing that and pushing music videos out into the world and things like that. And so, one day that just kind of stopped for me, and I ended up over here in this lane. So it's kind of good to go over somewhere else and have an outlet, like a release to go, well, let's talk about boxing. I'm going to be doing a video pretty soon about who I think had the best punches in boxing, who had the best jab, who had the best right cross, who had the best right uppercut, who had the best left hook. We'll talk about that. That's one that I want to do because I can't count the debates I've had. Was it Joe Frazier that had the best left hook, or was Mike Tyson's pretty damn good? We'll talk about it over there. And folks, again, I appreciate y'all so much for your support, and thanks for listening.